Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Will He Edit? Today we've got some new food for Pochi to try out, and just to let everybody know, Pochi has not eaten any of his morning food. I mixed in some other food that he has eaten in the past, and he didn't eat that in the afternoon, so he is not predisposed to want to have anything. So it's going to be a real challenge for this to see if he's going to want to eat anything. In addition, we're going to be rereading Peter Parker's Spectacular Spider-Man number 115, written by Peter David with art by Mark Beecham. So, Pochi is ready. He is ready to eat. So let's get in the kitchen and see if he'll eat this stuff. Alright, folks, as always, I show you the old dish of food that Pochi didn't eat today. Here's a clean bowl. I already opened up a Blue Buffalo Divine Delights top sirloin flavor in savory juices. Alright, the less like real food it is, the more likely he is to eat it. So, a pate. Woof! So let me just get this stuff in the bowl. I usually give him dry food called Biljack. That's what he seems to like. And I'll put this in, and then we'll see if he eats it. Plus, we're going to be reading that Spider-Man issue. So, give me just a second, and we'll get on in it. Alright, we got the food in the bowl. So, let me just take it over to this mat over here. Take the dog for a very quick walk, and then when I get back in, we'll be doing the review. So, wish me luck. Alright folks, first up, this comic came out originally in 1986. In the early days, I'd read this comic, but I didn't as the series went on because usually it was saddled with pretty bad artwork. I'm really sorry for fans of Al Milgrom or Sal Buscema, but they just weren't my favorite. In fact, I really hated them. They'd done other stuff I'd seen before, but this stuff wasn't quite so good. Anyhow, I read a bunch of Peter David's, so I didn't read a bunch of his Spider-Man, but I did read a bunch of his Hulks, and I love Hulk. This is probably like some of the best stuff I've ever read. He also did Aquaman, which I read a bunch of. And I read a bunch of his But I Digress, which was a column in CBR at the time. I didn't read a whole bunch of Mark Beecham work. He didn't really seem to stick around a lot of places too often. He had a certain style that was pretty stylized, but people today probably wouldn't really appreciate his style of artwork. It was definitely of the era. So, as we start, the story starts with Barbara Burnham. In one page, we know her entire history, her imperfections, her concerns. She had horrible acne as a kid, which led her to believe that all people, kids and now adults, are mean and not to be trusted. And she's pretty much a hermit. And as if to prove her right, she's accosted creepily by dudes in superhero masks. But of course, Spidey saves the day. Barbara still feels pretty shitty about letting in, and being that way, she lets Spidey know. I can't believe the things I said, the begging, I'm a coward. And Spidey tries to make her feel pretty good about the situation, I can barely get out of the house most days. And she still feels ashamed. Which was pretty bummer. We can skip ahead just a little bit, where we see Felicia Hardy, the Black Cat. She's working out in an attempt to renew her life of crime, but this time she's going to do it Robin Hood style. This is pretty reminiscent of some Mark Beecham work back in the day. She also fails the Bechdel test, wondering about her ex, Spidey, and how he would feel about her becoming a criminal again. Next up, we see Pete. he's back at the Bugle, and he can't use his Spidey shots due to the victim's face being in them. He doesn't want to make her a victim again, so he tells his boss he doesn't have anything to show her, and this causes Peter to be dressed down by his boss in public, or at least with another coworker, for being incompetent. Still, because there's a photographer that's out right now, he gets another chance at a story. The assignment is an abusive father is being confronted by a teacher, and the reporter on the scene is Joy Mercado, who Pete's supposed to meet up with. Instead, he shows up as Spidey, and he prevents any more trouble from occurring, but can't see that the child of the father, the abusive father, has powers. And in addition to that, he doesn't get any picks, which causes him to again be berated by his boss. So Peter's feeling pretty down on his luck. And in an attempt to prove to himself something can go right in his life, he flips a coin, calls heads, and he fails. And he flips it again, till he gets to 179 times, and he hasn't called the right call once. Not even a 50-50 chance. So he feels like something weird has to be going on, and he thinks he knows who's behind it. So as Spidey, he leaves to go find someone who can help him, as the Black Cat looks on. She's still fascinated with Spidey. Let's see if I can find this. And she laments, "Oh, my stars, after all this time, he's still gorgeous." And she says, "As soon as I learned my bad luck power would hurt him, it had to be over for us. I'd never do anything to hurt Spider-Man. Not ever." So this proves that she still cares for our hero. So as Black Cat restarts her criminal career, Spidey shows up to a certain sanctum sanctorum. Meanwhile, security systems are being avoided by the Black Cat as a Mohawk gent enters the room. And then Spider-Man's with Dr. Strange, and he has a diagnosis. Dr. Strange says, "My concern is that whatever magics I employ could affect the bad luck at its source. Would you like some time to issue a warning to that source whatsoever?" And of course, Spidey's like, let's just get me back to normal. He even thinks he knows who's behind it. So he says, "I don't know," or anything. Oh, Pochi ate a lot of food. So Doctor Strange's diagnosis, it's hard to say sometimes, is that he can cancel the power, and he can do it at the source. And even though the results may be unpredictable, Spidey says, go for it. Even though he thinks he and knows that the Black Cat's behind it, he says, "I don't know her or anything. Do what you have to do." And he even says she can look out for herself. And as she's fighting this Mohawk dude, her bad luck powers fade right in the middle of a fight. The issue ends with Spidey's problem solved. All the while, Black Cat in a somewhat Monara pose. Her problems are just beginning. This is ending, just as Pochi's finished. It's going to look around a little bit more. So, yeah, I really enjoyed this issue. This is the first time I read it. Lots of story, quite a bit of action, lots of character development. The Black Cat is a villain who has a heart. And Peter, who's a hero, because things are going so bad for him, he lets that get the best of him. So, of course, he doesn't know the effects of what's going to happen, but he also doesn't really care. Spider-Man, once again, is maybe not being the most responsible person. But no, this is a really good issue. Definitely one that you want to read the next issue to see what happens. And Peter David's a really good writer. He's done some really great stuff in the past. If you've never read his Young Justice, I recommend it. Just like Pochi recommends this food. Granted, he didn't eat it all this morning, but he totally dug the food. The blue buffalo. Poachy he's a pate man if there ever was. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and Poachy and I will have a reread and a review for you in the soon future.